Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Kibble. With me is Brent Hine. We are back from the All-Star break. I feel a little bit refreshed. I know you had just some late night binge drinking nights, and you're not as refreshed, I don't think, as I am.
I am actually feeling pretty refreshed. I recovered from the late night binges and all that stuff that happened for the birthday celebration and whatnot. So I'm good to go. We are back for a day before the end of the week.
I know that's what's nice. We get one day and then we're back for the weekend. I like
Yeah,
that.
so
I enjoy this.
just one day of work this week and then more days off.
We had a big trade. We had Manny Machado going to the Dodgers over the break. There hasn't been a lot of rumors as far as big bats moving, but of course this is hug alert season. We do got to keep an eye on some guys that will possibly be moving, but I don't think we have to worry about that right now.
No, always a good idea to keep an eye on the news and see what's happening. Wilmer Flores probably going to be traded for the 44th time and then cry his way out of it again. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Some closers and whatnot moving around, and that's about it so far.
Yeah, we get a lot of guys back from the DL too. A couple pitchers, a couple hitters that we need to talk about, but we'll get to that. First game here, we got the Mets and the Yankees. Domingo German take on Noah Syndergaard. I know you like German here. You like two Germans tonight, which is always nice. It's always fun when you can get two Germans. I like these guys. I like both these pitching options in GPPs here.
Yeah, the biggest concern that I have, at least from like the Noah Syndergaard part, is the fact that he's still probably going to be limited. I haven't seen anything as far as an official pitch count. They held him to 75 last time out. I could make an educated guess and say maybe 85. I don't really see why they would rush him back at this point, so that's something to keep an eye on. But the dude is cheap, and he's in a matchup against the Yankees, who do strike out a decent amount against right-handed pitching this season. So he's someone that I have some interest in. And then on the flip side, I'm just going to continue to take guys with strikeout upside against the Mets because the Mets are still terrible. And I realize Yoenis Cespedes is supposed to come back, but that's really not going to help you that much because you're still really, really bad at baseball.
Yeah, and he's just another high strikeout prone bat as well. I mean, it's been a limited sample size this year, but still over 100 plate appearances, over 30% strikeout rate against right-handers. We know German's got that good strikeout stuff. I'm with you. I like him a lot. I like German's price tag quite a bit. There's a couple other guys I feel a little bit safer with. But I do like kind of Jake Arrieta a little bit more in cash games, but I do like German here a lot.
Yeah, so do I. It's definitely a good spot for him.
So, as far as bats go, I'm not too thrilled. I know Syndergaard's obviously going to be fairly limited, but a guy who just doesn't allow a lot of potential as far as home runs go. I'm kind of off this game as far as hitters. I'm not buying into the Yankees 5-run total unless it's just all going to come against the bullpen.
Yeah, that would be the assumption, but that's a risk I don't think you need to take on a 14-game slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same with the Mets here. There's just better options with these price tags.
Yeah.
So, moving on, you got Atlanta and Washington. Steven Strasburg working his way back, taking on Anibal Sanchez. Any interest in Strasburg here?
Not for me. Not tonight. No.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a good wait-and-see approach. This is a matchup that he's kind of been up and down against an Atlanta team that doesn't strike out a lot either. Not necessarily picking on him. It's just kind of a wash here.
Yeah, it's one of those things there's so many good options in the mid-range tonight. Even in tournaments, I would rather take Noah Syndergaard over Strasburg, and you get $1,000 cheaper on DraftKings. So it's just one of those things. I'm not gonna go there tonight. It's just not worth it in my eyes.
Yep, I'm with you there. Washington side of things here. Well, Sanchez, he hasn't been bad this year. Except below 4. He's getting some strikeouts. He's held lefties and righties, both under 280 WOBA. I kind of like some of these Washington bats and GPPs at their price tags. Juan Soto 4.2 on DraftKings is fine. Harper's been struggling, but he's 4.5. Matt Adams 4K. They're all kind of just cheap, power options now.
Yeah, those would be the guys that I would be looking at. The Sotos. I don't hate Adam Eaton in that leadoff spot, but I'm not really wanting to pick on Sanchez too terribly much. Rendon, someone to keep an eye on. Maybe he continues that hot streak that he was on heading into the All-Star break. But that would be about it.
We're going to get to some games here.
Yeah, we will.
San Diego and Philly. Clayton Richard taking on Jake Arrieta. Arrieta come off a solid start before the break. He's 8,500 on DraftKings, 8K on FanDuel. I like him a lot here tonight. Good price tag. It's a good matchup. I will give him a little bump for some strikeout upside. I know he hasn't shown a ton, but this is still a Padres team that does strike out quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean he's been good in like basically three of his last three outings. I mean 189 ERA over that span, just 4 earned runs and 19 innings, pitched at least 7 innings in 2 of those starts. Like it's a good spot for him. He's been better at home this season, so that's promising. The Padres and offense is striking out like 26% of the time against righties this season, so that helps his like I guess artificially boost his 17% strikeout rate that he has. That being said, like he has had some games this season where he has racked up some strikeouts. I mean, we saw it against the Pirates. He has several games where he's posted at least a 25% strikeout rate. So he still has it in him. And this is a good spot against the Padres offense that is just not very good outside of Will Myers, who was like ridiculous heading into the All-Star break, but who knows if he's going to come out of the All-Star break in the same form. You're muted.
There we go. Back. Padres side of things, or Philly side of things here. Richard's a guy who pitched relatively well over the last month and a half. He's a guy who kind of relies on that slider, that sinker. And if he relies on that slider, it kind of scares me a little bit away from some of these bats. But I do like, Carlos Santana, Hoskins against sinker, someone I'm always interested in, even though he sucks against sliders. But I don't mind taking a couple bats here.
Yeah, Santana is interesting. I think there's one other guy who's more expensive that I think I'm just kind of locked into. But like at that price, especially on DraftKings at 3,700, that's a pretty good price for him. I don't hate Cesar Hernandez. Trevor Plouffe projected to be in the lineup is someone to keep an eye on. See, even in like any of the player, he's on DraftKings.
He's back, yeah.
Yeah, so he's someone to keep an eye on here. I kind of like him as maybe a one-off like value bet here.
And he's bare min on FanDuel. He's first base, so like you're not always sucking up one first base spot there.
Yeah, he could be your value guy on FanDuel if you're trying to get like Bauer and some more expensive people in.
Yeah, so I mean definitely a couple options here, and obviously a good park here for some power.
Yes.
Moving on, Baltimore and Toronto. We've been waiting for the Manny Machado trade. It finally happened. Ugh, this lineup is so gross.
Yeah, like now that the Manny Machado trade has happened, it's basically I'm going to be just like plugging every pitcher against the Orioles. That being said, I don't know that I'm going to do a Sam Gaviglio tonight. I just don't see any real upside in him. I guess if you want to take that shot on a value guy, feel free. I definitely have some interest in some Toronto bats in this spot, and maybe like a one-off of like a Trumbo or Scope against Gaviglio here, but mostly just interest in Toronto's side of things, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Gaviglio is a guy I don't tend to really pick on that much. He's not a bad ground ball guy. Will throw that sinker or that slider. That's pretty decent. He's getting a lot of strikeouts. There were swings and misses this year. I'm with you. Baltimore's going to be a team that we just target from here on out. But Gaviglio, I'm looking for a little bit more strikeout-prone pitchers than anything here.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, like he has raised his strikeout rate this season. It's up to like 21.5%. So there is some potential there, I guess. It's just I think there's better places to go.
Yeah. I mean, SP2 sites, like I won't say he's not the worst option in the world if you want to use him.
No, I mean, he's 6,900, so.
Nice. Toronto, like you said, looking to use some bats here. I like the lefties. I like some of their price tags. I mean, they're going to load up 3 or 4 of them right in that first 4 or 5 hitters. I kind of like a J stack.
Yeah, I mean, Bundy, like his last 4 starts have not been good. He's got like a 7.30 ERA and like almost 2 home runs per 9 in those last 4 starts. This is a really good spot for like Justin Smoke, who has like reached base in like his last 10 games or something like that. So he's kind of on a hot streak. You have Kendrys Morales, who has not really shown a lot this season, but over the past like 10 games or so has actually been pretty darn good. So he's a cheaper way to get some exposure in the spot. And then second base is just absolute garbage every day, apparently now. So like Yangervis Solarte on DraftKings is someone that I have a lot of interest in.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bundy's a guy who just throws that 91-mile-per-hour fastball about 50% of the time. Obviously has that good slider, but just some of these guys against that fastball. I mean, you look at Solarte, 277 ISO. I know Teoscar Hernandez, obviously from the right side, but 371 ISO. Granderson, 245. Smoke, 274. Morales, 343. Good spot here. And Bundy's just, I mean, since coming back from the DL, has just not looked himself.
It's because he can't get that fastball to touch 92 miles an hour. If he goes over 92, he's fine. But if it goes under 92, it is not good.
Yeah, so I like Toronto here, and I think everyone's going to overlook them on this slate, especially because they've kind of been a letdown offense in some good spots maybe over the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And don't overlook, like, I know Devin Travis is a guy we generally like to use against lefties, but against that fastball, again, 340 WOBA, 250 ISO. So, and a decent contact rate. Same with like a Ledmus Diaz down towards the bottom. Not great numbers producing wise as far as just like a 300 WOBA and a 116 ISO, but still making contact.
Yep. Miami, Tampa Bay here. I got Dan Straley taking on Nathan Eovaldi. Any interest in Eovaldi here?
It's really tough to get that last start out of my mind because he burned a lot of people. That being said, I don't hate taking a shot here if you just need to kind of – if you're looking at like mid-range guys with some strikeout potential.
Yeah, I wish he was a little bit cheaper to give me kind of a difference off of like Arrieta and German, but I definitely don't mind him here. Like you said, I think a lot of people are going to be shying away from him just because he was awful in that last start against the Twins. People still remember, despite the break. I did. But it's a good matchup here. Going to get a Marlins lineup that doesn't have a ton of pop. Good ballpark, obviously. And Eovaldi has shown some strikeout upside this year.
Yeah, he really has.
So I don't have any interest in picking on him here. He's got some good stuff, and that velocity is up to a level where I'm not tremendously thrilled.
No, I'd much rather get some exposure to the guys on the other side of this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dan Straley, not a good pitcher by any means. High walk rate, especially to lefties. I like, the Jake Bauers, the Kiermaiers, the Joey Wendells here tonight.
Yes, I absolutely love this spot for Jake Bauers. He's one guy that I have a lot of interest in. Coming in really on a pretty good streak, hitting really well over his last like 8 or 9 games. You have CJ Cron, who's been on a hot streak as well, and same with like Matt Duffy, who's also been on a hot streak. So, I mean, I guess like one hit would be like a hot streak for Matt Duffy at this point, but these guys are interesting. And then you're going to get someone like G-Man Choi projected in that lineup. I don't think anyone's going to roll out like a G-Man Choi tonight, and he's probably really cheap. Can't even find him on DraftKings. He is 3,500 at first base on DraftKings. He'll probably be in the player pool next week for FanDuel. Oh, no.
He's in there.
He's 2,200. So there you go. We have 2 like super duper cheap first base options for you. G-Man Choi, who just has a ton of power against righties, and Straley is a guy that gives up a lot of fly balls. So, yeah, I like this spot for these guys.
Yeah, me too. Moving on, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. This is a game that you need to keep an eye on for weather. You got Tyler Mahle taking on Jameson Taillon. Good ballpark here. I don't mind taking a couple lefties and GPPs against the Reds, although Scott Schebler went to the DL, so that takes one away. But I do think like Votto and Jeanette are interesting GPP options, and I don't hate like a Winker or Barnhart here either.
Yeah, they're names to consider. I don't know that I really want to pick on Tyon too much here. Just as we've kind of talked about a little bit more, like he's changed his pitch mix up a little bit, and it's pretty much led to him being fairly serviceable over the last few games. So I guess if you're dying to get exposure here, Scooter is definitely someone to consider. Jesse Winker, as you mentioned, but like I don't know that I want to pay these prices for him.
Yeah, they're a little up there. I don't know if they're taking Jeanette's game-tying home run, the All-Star game, into consideration. But you kind of look, I mean, you mentioned the pitch change, like he's throwing a little bit more off-speed stuff more. But, getting to that fastball, it's about 95 miles per hour, just some really strong numbers from those guys. And, even against curveballs, like Jeanette and Votto are not the worst options in the world. I mean, even Winker, all three of those guys have over 200 ISO. So GPPs only.
Yeah, assuming this game even plays.
Yeah, that's true. Pittsburgh side of things, I love the lefties here.
I definitely like some of these lefties. Like Molly's still a guy. For some reason, comes out and he'll have like one just freaking lights out game, and it pisses everyone off because they've stacked against him because he had been terrible for like the past like 5. But still struggling against lefties. 401 WOBA allowed, 279 ISO allowed. A lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact to the left side of the plate. Does not really have much of a pitch mix. It's basically just a four-seam fastball that he throws way too much and a slider and a changeup that he doesn't throw enough. And you have guys like Dickerson, Polanco that entered the All-Star break on some pretty decent hot streaks. So hopefully they continue. I love Polanco in the spot, 257 ISO, 348 WOBA against righties this season. And against that fastball, 236 ISO, 346 WOBA.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know DK priced them up a little bit, and I'm okay with that because you mentioned, I mean, running into the break, those guys are red hot, guys that we talked about, about a week and a half before, just kind of every night guys. FanDuel, they're a little bit cheaper. I like Dickerson, Polanco. I don't hate a Colin Moran in this spot either.
Yeah, and I still have interest in like a Starling Marte if you want to round out the stack, and then an Elias Diaz. Like I don't think we've mentioned a catcher yet today, so Elias Diaz, someone to consider, and then you could throw out Maxwell Moroff just to have a dude named Maxwell in your lineups if you really want to.
Yeah, never hate that. Moving on, Boston, Detroit, another rain game that we got to consider here. This one looks a little bit better than what Cincinnati does, but still keep an eye on it. Boston, obviously one of the higher, total teams on the slate, so over 5. I don't mind taking some bets here. They're popular as always. I have interest in like Steve Pearce, who's healthy and going to hit cleanup for 4K.
Yeah, like Steve Pearce is a guy I find it really hard to fade him in the spot just because, I mean, again, he's notorious for being a lefty masher. He's got a 271 ISO, 433 WOBA against him this season. Hits that fastball that Boyd throws a decent amount really well. I mean, he's got a 706 ISO against it. Granted, that's just 16 batted ball events, so not a very large sample size, but outside of that, like Betts and JD Martinez, they're fine options. I'm definitely not going to say don't play them, but just know they're going to be very popular. But Mookie Betts is really tough. Like, I mean, he's got some home run and steal upside, I think, in this spot because Boyd has not been good at holding runners this season.
No, he's not. And we finally started to see Boyd slip before the break. Like, finally.
Yeah, he stopped just giving up one earned run.
Yeah, so I like them here. Like you said, they're expensive. They're going to be popular. You're not fooling anyone. I do like Bogarts, though, for 5K. I don't think he'll come in and as highly owned as like the Martinez and Betts, and he's been hitting the ball really, really well before the break.
Yeah, I think he'll be one of the lower owned options off that team. And given like you have Jose Ramirez and Manny Machado that are a little bit more expensive, I think they're going to garner a little more ownership. So I don't hate the play there.
Detroit side, any interest in Price here?
No, I'm done with David Bryce. I'm over him. If this was a matchup where there was a little bit more strikeout upside, I might consider it. But this offense is just not a team that we like to target for strikeouts, anyways. Um, yeah, at that price, like I would just rather go the Arrietas and some of these other guys that we're going to get to a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, the Tigers, I mean, overall, they're just not a team that strikes out a lot. They're not a team that I have a lot of interest in. James Mccann, he's 3-3 behind the dish, projected to hit cleanup. I don't hate him. He's kind of it. You know, John Hicks is a little bit more expensive. He's shown a little bit more power this year and consistency. He's also hits that cutter really well, 413 well with 241 ISO. So I guess those two were being the guys in play for me.
Yeah, like I said, we haven't really mentioned a lot of guys behind the dish. So James McCann, death taxes, home runs versus lefties. It's James McCann day. John Hicks has good numbers against that cutter. Even someone like Heimer Candelario, like projected to bat towards the bottom of that lineup, but a lot of power against lefties this season with the 211 ISO and a 353 WOBA.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he's projected to hit down there, and like Matoka is hitting fifth.
Yeah.
Or even Victor Martinez. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Did Mike Matheny get a job with Detroit? Is that what happened?
Probably. Like that's I don't even know why they play Victor Martinez anymore. Like, is it just one of those he's just been with us, so we just had to roll him out there type things?
I think so. I think it's, I don't know what his contract is, but maybe he's one of those like $12 million a guy years now, and they're like, we have to.
I mean, the Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla like $50 million a year, so like, should they just start rolling him out there because they're paying him a bunch of money?
No, they shouldn't. Oh man, Bonilla and Tebow lineups coming up for the Mets.
It would probably be more productive than what they're rolling out now.
Cleveland, Texas, next here. Trevor Bauer taking on Martin Perez. It is hot, projected to be around 110 by game time. Then you have Martin Perez. Let's talk Trevor Bauer real quick before we get into these Cleveland bats. I like him here. Price tag 13.6, it's high, but there's some great mid-range options. There's some great value on this slate, so I don't mind using him.
Yeah, there's a lot of strikeout upside. I mean, this dude has just been ridiculous just over his past several starts. I mean, it's just so much strikeout potential. I mean, if you just look, he has double-digit strikeouts in like 8 or something like that of his last 10 games. It's pretty. 6 of his last 10 games, he's eclipsed 100 pitches. Yeah,
he's a guy who just continuously works deep into games. Been very consistent this year. I like him a lot. It's a Texas lineup that could be without Mazzara. It's still a lot of strikeouts, especially towards the back half of that lineup, like Guzman, Chirinos, Gallo, DeShields. I mean, holy hell, there's some strikeouts there. So I like him. He's cash and GPP viable for me.
Yeah, if you can afford him, roll him out there. I mean, the only guy that I'm really worried about is Chu. That's just because he's been ridiculously hot over the past like 2 months. But outside of that, I mean, maybe Bauer gives up like 1 earned run, but he still strikes out like 11 and goes like 7 innings and gets a win because that's just going to happen tonight. So like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am as well. And then we get to the Cleveland side. There's going to be run support. Martin Perez was, historically known as a ground ball guy. That's really not the case anymore. Just gets a loaded right-handed lineup. We're going to get a couple bats like Brandon Guyer in there. It's weird to see that like Yan Gomes isn't projected. I don't know why that is. But I like the back half, of course. But obviously, like I'm going to try and fit like a Ramirez or Lindor in here.
Yeah, Ramirez is itching to get back to playing baseball. He tweeted out that he was bored over the break or something like that. So I expect him to come out. He was probably just looking at the calendar and going, "Ooh, Martin Perez! I can't wait to play baseball again." So I absolutely love him in this spot. Both him, Lindor, Edwin Encarnacion, a guy that hits ground ball pitchers pretty darn well, is one of those guys that I just have a ton of interest in tonight. Like I know his numbers against lefties this season are not very good. Just a 139 ISO, 282 WOBA. But against sinkers, 363 WOBA, 204 ISO. Good numbers there. I don't even hate like the Brantley in this spot. Like I know it's lefty on lefty, but still something that I have a lot of interest in. I kind of think I'm going to get a lot of exposure to the back half of that lineup, though.
Yeah, I'm, kind of looking at the guy here. Like, I don't hate like Eric Gonzalez as well, who's projected to be in the lineup. I mean, 43% hard contact rate against lefties this year, over 400 expected WOBA. Like, I don't mind him in the middle infield. Um, I'm just hoping Yan Gomes is there. Like, I'm kind of bugged about why he's not projected in the lineup.
I mean, Roberto Perez, decent numbers against lefties dating back to last season, though.
I know, but Yan Gomes has just been mashing lefties this year.
Yeah, yeah, he has, and it's really funny if you look the stats this season. Like Rajai Davis has a .000 ISO against lefties this season. That's just funny to see. Like they just don't need to play him. Put like Greg Allen or someone else out there. Stop rolling Rajai Davis. Dude just doesn't contribute anything anymore.
No, remember like if you've been playing DFS long enough, like Rajai Davis was like the guy you plugged in against lefties.
Yeah, not anymore.
No, so get some Cleveland exposure, good ballpark, hot weather. Martin Perez, it's a perfect mix.
Yes, I can speak to the fact that it is very, very hot. It's supposed to be like 113 here today. So,
oh man,
Texas is just a couple hours south of me, so it's going to be hot there too.
Oh boy, Wade Miley on the board next. Dodgers and Milwaukee. You got two lefties here. Rich Hill on the other side. Dodgers obviously getting Machado is going to add another right-handed bat to that lineup. It kind of gives them just like a murderer's row of right-handed bats because you get like Taylor, Hernandez, Machado, Kemp, even Max Muncy against lefties. Like this is a killer lineup against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're still going to have a bunch of scrubs at the bottom after Max Muncy because you have like Forsythe. I guess I shouldn't say that about Cody Bellinger. He's not a scrub, but like not great numbers against lefties this season. And then you have like Austin Barnes, who's just been a shell of what we saw last season against lefties.
I know. It's kind of a bummer. I was hoping he'd pick up his play because even his like expected stats are not good and his hard contact's way down.
Yeah, his contact rate is pretty good, 88%, but that's about it.
Yeah, there's nothing else going for him. I mean, he's cheap. Like, I guess I don't. If you're like punting catcher, he's not the worst option.
No, he's not. And like this is Dodgers offense. I don't think will be like super popular. Which is kind of crazy to say. I think Boston, Cleveland are going to garner more ownership, and like it's Wade Miley. Like I know we were really excited. The couple starts that he had for stacking against him, and only really two of those paid off, but it's Wade Miley. He sucks at baseball. And I really want to stack against him with just about anyone in this lineup.
Yeah, like you got to drag back to last year for Miley just because he hasn't pitched much in 2018. I mean, 372 WOBA, 185 ISO, 34% hard contact rate to right-handers. Really good ballpark for right-handed power. You just get like, I mean, obviously Machado, but like Matt Kemp, 4K on DraftKings, like he's a lock for me. 402 WOBA, 280 ISO against lefties this year, 48% our contact rate, and he just never gets the ownership and price that he deserves.
Yeah, he's a guy that I have a lot of interest in, and then like Machado, the dude's just such a safe play, not in, not out. Dude has a 6% strikeout rate against lefties this season. 6%. Think about that. That is ridiculously low.
Yeah, that's insane. And he's faced some good lefties. Like that's a division that still has some good left-handed pitching.
Yeah, like the dude, like in cash games, I know like Lindor and Bogarts and whatnot are like really good plays, but I think just from a cash game perspective, Machado might be the top shortstop option on the slate.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. And like you have a lot of guys like I know Taylor plays shortstop like as well, but and Kiki Hernandez are all listed as there. But like if you go elsewhere, like on FanDuel, you look out a little bit and you can use them and still get a good stack in.
Yeah, and Kike you can roll out in the outfield, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, so I like these Dodgers bats here quite a bit, and I still don't hate Max Muncy.
Max Muncy.
Were you disappointed in the home run derby?
I didn't watch.
Oh man, it was a good one.
I did not pay attention to anything like as far as like the All-Star game, home run derby, none of that stuff. I saw the clip of Bill Nye in the bloop single or whatever, and that was about it.
That was the highlight of that night for me. Like I was pretty pumped that he got a base hit.
Yeah, that was the only thing related to the All-Star break, the All-Star game that I even paid any attention to.
Fine. It was a good one. Milwaukee side things here. Rich Hill, what rinse and repeat here, what we usually say about Rich Hill.
Yes. Blisters, Dave Roberts, blisters. Guy can strike some people out. Probably going to get another blister, Dave Roberts.
Yeah. I kind of like taking a couple like Milwaukee bats against him because I don't think people are going to go there. Like I like, the Lorenzo Cains and Jesus Aguilars, and I don't even hate like a Hernan Perez either.
It is pretty tough to fade Jesus Aguilar in the spot. I mean, the dude owns like a 351 ISO and a 444 WOBA against lefties this season. That's pretty good. You mentioned Hernan Perez, another guy, 232 ISO, only a 286 WOBA, but expected stats are pretty good. So I agree. Like I think you can get some exposure to a couple of these guys, and even like in Eric Kratz behind the dish, someone with some power ups that I think you can get some exposure to, because like if bad Rich Hill comes out, and there's always a chance bad Rich Hill takes the mound tonight, then he's probably going to get shelled, and Milwaukee is definitely a stack that nobody's going to look at in the spot.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Like you just look like you said, that curveball's not working. He's throwing that gas can fastball of his that's just getting pounded this year for a 52% contact rate. So there's potential here for Milwaukee.
Yeah, and you have some guys like, I mean, we're dealing with really small samples, but Lorenzo Cain, almost 600 WOBA against that fastball. Jesus Aguilar, just a 647 WOBA and 500 ISO against it.
85% of our contact.
Granted, it's only 7 batted ball events.
It's still funny.
It's still some pretty impressive numbers. Hernan Perez, another guy, 19 batted ball events, so a little bit larger sample size, 483 WOBA, 435 ISO, 44% hard contact.
Yeah, so definitely some guys to use there. Good GPP guys.
Yes, for sure.
Minnesota, Kansas City, Kyle Gibson taking on Danny Duffy. I think this is a rematch from right before the break. Once again, I find it tough to buy into these Twins high totals given their numbers this year, especially against left-handed pitching. I know Duffy's been bad, but I still can't get into it.
Duffy on the season has been bad. Duffy recently has not been bad. Like I know he had the one bad game against Cleveland, but like
it's Cleveland.
But like he has not been terrible over his last like 10 starts. He's had a couple bad games, but like that's going to happen. But he has raised his strikeout numbers. He has kind of stabilized a little bit, and I'm just it's one of those situations where I don't think I'm going to go to the well with picking on him here, not with the Twins who apparently forgot how to hit baseballs.
Yeah, I think Duffy's viable in GPPs at 6,100. Like his strikeout stuff has just been insane over his last 5 starts. Like you said, the Cleveland start was a down one, but I mean, still faced Milwaukee, Houston, Minnesota, Chicago, had some strikeouts there. Pitched 6 or more innings in his last 5 starts. This projected lineup, 288 WOBA, 121 ISO, and a 21% strikeout rate against lefties. He's going to get actually probably a lot of lefties in this lineup still, and a lot of guys that will turn over but don't hit as strong from the right side. I think he's viable here.
He's definitely viable, and like if I was looking at anyone, it would from like the Twin side, it might be like a Max Kepler or a Dozier who went into the All-Star break pretty hot, or maybe a Rosario, but I'm just not going to pick on him tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. Kansas City, Kyle Gibson. Gibson's a guy, just good ground ball stuff. He's got some swing and miss stuff, especially with that off speed. I'm not really looking to pick on him here.
No, and he's a guy I have interest in. If you're looking to just use mid-range guys, he gets a park boost. He's been really good on the road this season. I about spit my drink out last night whenever I was looking at his numbers. Like his slider, that whiff rate, 55% on that slider, that curveball, 51%. Like good numbers there, and he's just. I know Kyle Gibson has been disappointing at times whenever he shouldn't have been, but this is just a good spot against a Royals offense that it's not very good. Like I know they have Perez back, but you get like Perez and Moustakas, and that's pretty much the only bat you're really worried about.
Yeah, I mean, he's come off the break. What do you have? 18 strikeouts over two starts. I know there was the Rays and Orioles, but like you said, he's just got insane off-speed stuff, and he's starting to rely on that slider a little bit more lately.
Yeah, and like he's definitely stabilized over the past couple starts, and it's just one of those situations. Like I'm not expecting a ton of strikeouts in this spot. I mean, it's the Royals. They're not generally an offense that strikes out a ton, but it feels like one of those safe mid range options here.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting a couple more bats in there that do strike out, like Bonifacio in there. If they play Paulo Orlando or like Mondesi, those guys do strike out a little bit. But like you said, it's not a huge strikeout upside team, but it's not as bad as it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, for sure.
San Francisco and Oakland, you got Edwin Jackson take on Derrick Rodriguez. Kind of higher totals than I was expecting for this game.
Yeah, I don't buy into the totals on this one at all. Like I know like Edwin Jackson, a guy most people think is really terrible, has had a couple down games, but prior to that had been pretty darn solid in his first two starts. I guess you could get some exposure against him if you really wanted to. And like Pudge Jr. on the other side, not someone I just love picking on, even though like he doesn't really have any upside at all.
Yeah, this game's kind of just so meh, for me. Like it's a big ballpark. Edwin Jackson, like you said, fantasy upside has been capped in his last two starts, but I mean overall he's only allowed 700 runs over his last four starts. Um, Gets a Giants team that's I don't know, it's just kind of meh.
That's pretty much how I feel about it.
Yeah, like I would probably rather maybe take a couple like Oakland bats just because like the lefties hard contact is 46% from Rodriguez. So like I don't hate like a Fowler or Olsen and GVPs.
Yeah, Fowler's an interesting name. Maybe even like yeah, you mentioned Olson. He's definitely interesting, but maybe even like a Jed Lowry.
Yeah. It's the couple lefties here that have been doing stuff this year.
Yeah, and like again, I mentioned I hate second base almost every single night. It's weird how that happens. Like every season, there's just one position where you just hate it every single night, and I at second base this year for me. So Jed Lowry at 4,200 on DraftKings, someone that's could be a good option here.
It's like NBA because like power forward was abysmal this year. And like usually it was shooting guard, and the shooting guard was like one of the strongest ones.
Yeah.
I know. At second base, it sucks. Anything else here?
No, I will say if DraftKings will just hurry up and move Max Muncy to second base, then second base would be awesome every night.
Yeah, FanDuel's ahead of the game there.
Yeah, I tweeted him about it, and like the next day, they had him at second base. I feel like I might have had a hand in that, even though I probably didn't. I'm still going to take credit for it.
They're just like, oh God, Brinson mentions again. Let's just do it.
Shut this guy up.
Colorado, Arizona, Jordan Marques take on Robbie Ray. Marques, I know a guy that you have some interest in who gave him the honorable mention in the pitching article.
Yeah, he's just been so freaking good away from Coors this season, and he's coming in. He's been really good over his last three starts. One of those actually took place in Coors against the same Diamondbacks team, gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 8. And like the Diamondbacks, they have a couple guys that had been hitting really hot, hitting the ball really well going into the break, but they're still one of the worst offenses in baseball against right-handed pitching. Marques is just really cheap and has some strikeout upside. I mean, he's got a 23% strikeout rate this season, and it's really tough to ignore the away from home numbers. Like if you look at it, a 2.62 ERA, 0.98 WHIP, compared to like a 7.31 ERA at home. Like you just get him outside of Coors, and the dude's been solid.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like him. He's got a good fastball, right around 95, 96 miles per hour. I feel like the Goldie numbers, if you look against that range, is a little outdated because it goes back to like 2016. He has not been good against high velocity pitchers this year. Jake Lamb's been decent, but outside of that, there's not a lot of great productivity against that range of fastball.
No, I mean it's basically. I mean you have AJ Pollock, has some decent numbers against it.
Oh yeah, that ISO.
And Alex Avila and his 69% contact rate.
Yeah, Alex Avila. I mean, then you drop in that curveball, which is pretty solid, and obviously against off-speed pitches, the Diamondbacks are kind of useless.
Yeah, we've been down that road several times this season, so I feel like we don't need to kick that dead horse. But this is a pretty good spot for Marques, and both Germans made it in the pitching article today.
Nice.
Cesar.
Other side of this one, I like Robbie Ray in GPPs. Obviously there is some dangerous right-handed bats. We saw him just face off against his team in Coors. He had 8 strikeouts. Kind of got bit a little bit in the last inning or so. But still, 18 DK points in Coors, not bad. It's still a team. There's a lot of strikeouts here, I feel, despite this number being relatively low if you look in the total. But like Arenado's Story, Desmond still have some strikeouts against, Ray stuff.
Yeah, the dude has like a 34% strikeout rate this season. That definitely stands out. And at that price, especially on DraftKings, he's definitely worth at least looking at, I think. Not cash viable, but definitely in tournaments. I think there's some potential for him to have a good game. Has not been great against the Rockies this season. 16 strikeouts and 2 starts, so 8-8. But like 8 earned runs. So there's definitely risk for him to give up a bunch of earned runs, but also notch some strikeouts. So definitely take a shot in tournaments.
Yeah. Was that first starting Coors?
I do not know.
I'm trying to figure out if he was or not.
Let's see, Robbie Ray.
Oh, he was home now.
That was when the humidor was the rheumidor.
That's right. That was early on in the year. Yeah, he's still definitely just a GPP guy. His pitch counts back up to normal despite him not logging a ton of innings. It's just kind of how it goes, just because the walks can be a little bit of an issue. He does work deep into counts, but that's why he's a GPP guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, on the flip side, like I don't hate taking like an Arenado or Story or Desmond in GPPs though.
Yeah, you can feel free. I think Desmond would be the guy that would have the most interest in, just because you're going to get him. See, Story. Yeah, the other guys are well over 5K, and he's not.
Yeah, and Desmond, 391 WOBA, 282 ISO against lefties this year.
Yeah.
So, moving on, Houston and LA, Tyler Skaggs versus Dallas Keuchel. 2 lefties here. I don't really have a ton of interest in this game, just kind of overall.
Skaggs is a tournament arm, I think, for me, just because we've seen Houston at times this season kind of disappear against lefties, even though they should have a bunch of guys that hit lefties really well. And there's, some strikeout upside, I think, for Skaggs, but definitely tournaments only, because I am still a little bit worried about like Evan Gattis and Alex Bregman and Altuve.
Yeah, it just... Skaggs 9.4. We point out like a handful of mid-range options I think I'm just going to rather go with.
Yeah, I agree there. It's just one of those, if you're building a bunch of lineups and you're trying to be, super contrarian, he's a guy to consider.
Yeah, or if you're playing late slate.
Yes.
So, on the other side, you got Keuchel on the hill. This Angels lineup has been dreadful despite loading up on right-handed bats against lefties this season. It's just kind of a wash situation. Like, I don't want to use any of these guys over some of the other price bats around them tonight.
I don't think I will either. What is Jeffrey Marte's price?
3,400.
He's someone to consider. He's got that multi-position eligibility on DraftKings, and decent numbers against lefties this season. 276 ISO, 345 WOBA, 23% strikeout rate. Not necessarily worried about that with Keuchel being on the mound. And then, of course, you have Mike Trout, but you're going to be paying a hefty price for him. Other than that, I don't know that there's anyone that I really have a lot of interest in.
Oh, I'm with you. Last game of the night, we got Chicago and Seattle. Wade LeBlanc taking on James Shields. Seattle going to get like Nelson Cruz and Mitch Haniger back. They've been kind of day-to-day before the break. So this lineup looks back to what it usually does. I like Seattle here. I like the stack. They're like a late night hammer if you want to go for it. I know Shields hasn't been blown up prone as prior seasons, but they've been there. They've been there this year.
Yeah, I do like them. I do like them in tournaments. I'd probably rank them like 5th as far as my stacks go at this point, but Shields a guy. Eventually, picking on him is going to pay off. It's going to happen one of these days. Don't know when it is because I don't have a crystal ball, but it's going to work one of these days. So,
if you played that early 3-game slates where they pounded James Shields for 8 earned runs, Houston.
Yeah, I don't usually play those, so I missed out on that joyousness. But yeah, like he's throwing that 89-mile-an-hour forcing fastball like 29% of the time. He's mixing in a cutter. D. Gordon actually has some power against that fastball. It's weird to say D. Gordon has power against anything, but you pull it up and against an 89-mile-an-hour forcing fastball dating back to 2016, he's got a 316 ISO and a 37 batted ball event, so it's not a small sample. So you can look at him, Gene Segura, Mitch Haniger, Denard Span, Ryan Healy. I really like Ryan Healy in the spot if there weren't like 44 other first basemen that I like.
Yeah, I know. That's a problem. Like first base and third base loaded tonight. I like Seattle. I like some of the back half guys if you need the value. Chris Herman projected in the lineup, punt option 2,600. Against that cutter that he throws, 499 wood with 333 ISO.
Yeah, he's definitely a good punt catcher. We haven't really talked a lot about catchers tonight or today because it's not very strong, I don't feel today. But like if you're gonna fade like the Gaddis and some of these like chalk options, Chris Herman, good value bet.
Yeah, for sure. Chicago side of things here, we got Wade LeBlanc on the hill. I don't mind him here. He's 6,200. He's another kind of value pitcher that I feel you could use here tonight.
Yeah, he's another guy made in the pitching article. I'm going to go LeBroke if I keep on using him too much. But sorry, I had to get that in there. It's a spot like it's the White Sox. They're terrible. I know they have a couple guys like Avisail Garcia and Abreu Garcia coming back from the DL. Who knows if he's going to be, as hot as he was going in. I would definitely maybe take a shot on him if you're not going to use Wade LeBlanc, but it's one of those spots where he has a decent pitch mix, not a lot of strikeout potential, but I feel pretty comfortable at that price and rolling him out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's no one that really on the White Sox that stands out to me that I would really rather use over other guys tonight either.
Yeah, for sure.
Home run calls. Who do you got?
Steve Pearce. And let's go. I'm going to say Manny Machado kicks off his Dodger debut with the home run.
I like it. Start one off with the Dodgers well. Matt Kemp. And then give me some Justin Smoke.
I dig it.
There's like a handful that we could have gone with tonight.
There are a lot of guys that are in good spots to hit home runs.
Be sure to keep an eye on lineups. Tonight, obviously, first day back from the All-Star break. We've seen some kind of funky projected lineups already, but keep an eye on that. Check out dailyfantasycafe.com. Tools and content up for today's slate, and I'll see you guys Monday.
Good luck tonight.